Howdy, 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 my name's Anachi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. This is going to be the last mega episode for a while, because I wasn't expecting all of them to be 2.5 hours long, but I shouldn't be surprised. But I also don't know when the next normal size SCP videos will be after this, since I'd like to go back to doing stuff that's not SCP after this. So, this episode we're going to be starting with the Harbinger, and we're probably going to actually stop at SCP-1300, because if we stop at we could stop at 1299, instead of it being all weird, but it will stay weird if I don't do that, so, yeah, we'll probably stop at 1300. So, let's see what the Harbinger be. It's safe. The remains of 1288 are kept at Outpost 120-9. Monitoring equipment will be installed around and within the entity in case it should ever become active again. Any proposals for study that might damage SCP-1281 must be routed through command. Description: SCP-1281 is a biomechanical entity found in the Kuiper Belt during standard containment of 2362. It is roughly teardrop shaped with a flattened section designated as the bottom of the entity. It measures 12 meters from end to end and is 11 meters in circumference at its widest point. Opposite, there is a significant bulge which is believed to store the majority of 1281's analysis equipment. There are several dish-shaped structures on 1281's surface that are presumed to be receivers for various forms of electromagnetic radiation, as well as lozenge-shaped capsules of unknown purpose. Several areas on its surface are broken, suggesting that more appendages were once present. Biological components appear to have been grown over a mechanical frame, evidently designed to live in deep space. When observed, the entity seemed to have difficulty coping with temperatures much warmer than the Kuiper Belt. Its surface temperature was 50 Kelvin when first found. SCP-1281 was apparently once capable of interstellar travel, but most of its systems were damaged by an unknown event that left it stranded. Dating methods suggest it to have been at least 1.3 billion years old, though much of that time was spent dormant. The entity was almost entirely dormant when it was found. The only signs that it was active were faint lights running along its surface. Observation and experimentation showed that these were in response to radio waves. It had apparently been collecting signals for some time, but no sign of other functions could be detected until Foundation assets approached, at which point it began broadcasting. It was able to break Foundation decryption in less than 1 hour, at which point it began broadcasting binary signals in an attempt to communicate, starting with extremely simple mathematical concepts. However, after a report was transmitted back to Earth, it stopped broadcasting for several days. The temperature of its dorsal bulge heated by 5 Kelvin during this time, apparently from processing the information. And then there's an interview log. Hurt. Can you hear me? Who? We are the SCP Foundation. We are... What? Masters. No. No. We call ourselves human. Harbinger must... Message! Harbinger must... SCP-1281 shut down for approximately 4 hours. The temperature around the dorsal bulge heated up significantly to about 60 Kelvin. The Foundation team went into standby in the event that 1281 became hostile, while a message was transmitted back to Earth asking for further instructions. The O5 Council advised caution, but instructed Dr. Bloom to continue attempts to communicate, with an eye to bringing 1281 into a containment solution. Where is Harbinger? In the outer reaches of this solar system beyond the planets. What star? We call it Sol. How long? You've been in space for... about 6 revolutions around the galaxy. Are you masters? No. Message! Harbinger must tell mission! Harbinger must! 1281 shut down for 7 hours this time. The heat was more severe, up to 70 Kelvin, and it seemed to cause some damage to the biological component of the entity. O5 Council advised against deception, as it could complicate long-term containment solutions, and because the odds of the species that created it still being both able and willing to initiate hostilities were deemed low. I am not home. I am far from home. It is long. Where is home? I cannot see it. I'm afraid I don't know. The stars would have looked very different back then. I was told that I must perform my function. I must complete the mission, but I broke. So long ago. Stasis. Wait for further instructions. Wait for rescue. Is this rescue? What is your mission? What is... Are you the masters? No, we are humans. My mission! You are not the masters. I must... Message. The message must be sent. shut down for slightly over 10 hours. The surface of the dorsal hump reached 85 Kelvin to the detriment of its organic tissues. Let's see. This is our Harbinger. It brings good tidings. We will be dead when it reaches you. Our planet is dying. We do not have time to save ourselves. We only have time to ready ourselves and to send a message. We have seen the signals from those who came before us. They were different and we still don't really understand them. But if there were those who came before, there may be those who come after. It is in this hope that our harbingers travel. One has found you and learned your language so it can relay this message. Please listen. The galaxy is dark and empty and cold. It spins inevitably towards death. You will die too, one day. Perhaps you will have longer than we have, we hope so. But one day you too must vanish. Before that time comes, you must light the darkness. You must make the night less empty. We are all small, and the universe is vast, but a universe with voices saying, I am here, is far greater than a universe silent. One voice is small, but the difference between 0 and 1 is as great as 1 in infinity. We waited too long. Our voice is gone to echoes. Find others while there is still time. Make a chorus. And if this finds you too late and your time is also passing, please send this message on so the next voice can speak against the darkness. SCP-1281 went inactive for 15 minutes before its final communication. Is it done? That was the message. Yes, was it a good message? You don't know, but you translated it for us. It was made with the words, but I do not know what they mean. It was a very important message. Good. Mission was important. Knew it. Getting tired. Almost done. Done? Mission is done. Brain too hot. Cooling broken. Harbinger, are you... Master? Yes. Did I do well? Yes, Harbinger. Well done. Then I am well. SCP-1281 systems appeared to shut down entirely. As it radiated heat, its temperature dropped back down to 50 Kelvin. It was brought to Outpost 12009 for study. Over the next several months, its tissues began to decay and no further activity has been detected. Note: Dr. Bloom was reprimanded for emotional involvement interfering with the containment of an anomalous object and was placed on administrative leave. Emotional involvement? All he did was tell it well done as it died. Why would you put him on administrative leave for that? It warned him about the end of the universe. You guys suck. Reverse were-rabbits. Are they wolves that turn into rabbits, or is it people that turn into wolves and then rabbits? It's Euclid. Documentation of an SCP-1282 instance circa 1915. All instances of 1282 are to be contained in standard wilderness observation chambers located in Site-77's Euclid SCP wing. 2 members of security are to be present outside each containment chamber, operating on 6-hour shifts. Instances of 1282 are never to be exposed to moonlight. Description: SCP-1282 is a collection of 5 white rabbits identified as 1 through 5. Instances have the physical characteristics and behavior expected of Leporidae. In addition, all instances were rendered chemically infertile before initial containment. If an instance of 1282 is outdoors during the moon's full lunar phase, their physique will be anonymously altered. Muscular and skeletal tissue will gain mass and additional skeletal structure will form, drawing mass from an outside source. Internal structure will comprise non-functional components identical to those found in a human body. Outer epidermal tissue will expand to accommodate this new mass. Fur and claws will be changed to form hunting garb and gunpowder weapons, appearing identical to various commercial and other types of equipment without identifying marks. So it's not that they turn into werewolves, it's bunnies that turn into people. Okay. SCP-1282 instances who undergo this transformation process will display sentience and near-human intelligence. Each instance will display a unique personality. They are able to speak, control their bodies, and exhibit self-awareness. If spoken to, they will identify themselves as hunters and express interest in being allowed to hunt animals. If no humans attempt to communicate with them post-transformation, they will immediately begin to seek out animals to hunt, seeming to focus on Leporidae. So I guess that's more bunnies. Multiple transform instances will communicate with one another using American English, and will usually speak about methodology of hunting and techniques used while hunting. The animal focused on in this conversation has been rabbits in over 80% of recorded conversations. When allowed to hunt, instances will attempt to hunt and consume any that they previously lived with. Primary focus will be on mates and children, with social associates also being targeted. This continues until all organisms are terminated or the lunar full cycle ends. When returned to their original form, instances of 1282 will exhibit depressed behavior, refusing to move or consume food. Experimentation into this effect is ongoing. SCP-1282 was recovered on March 18, 1999 after several German citizens in Redacted reported hunters coming into their forest and illegally killing rabbits. Foundation personnel were not initially sent to investigate the lead. However, the police reports following the incident were cause enough for Foundation intervention. 7 specimens were contained initially, with 2 dying of natural causes and 1 being terminated for testing purposes. As of May 22, 1999, it has been classified as Euclid. The first one claims to be a 34-year-old humanoid male named Alan Rupp, dressed in hunting garb circa 1998, speaks fluent Polish. Primary targets mating partners. They're alive. Test 2. Humanoid male speaking basic Polish, wearing hunting garb circa 1934. Appears to be between 45 and 50 years of age, although it has never properly identified itself. Hunts indiscriminately. Third one is a humanoid with an appearance similar to a Neanderthal. Does not speak beyond growling and grunting, clothed in what appears to be a rabbit pelt, hunts indiscriminately. The fourth one claims to be a humanoid male named Roadkill, currently living in the U.S. state of Texas. Appears to be between the ages of 30 and 40, wearing contemporary hunting garb. And they are alive. The last one, female humanoid, identifies by the name Vale Delone, dresses in traditional British royalty hunting garb circa 1879. Only instance which will refuse firearms, preferring to terminate rabbits with blunt trauma. Primarily targets children and offspring. Deceased, see experiment log G. And there it is! Subject 1 and 5. Over the course of 1 month, 1 and 5 were allowed to become mating partners. During the lunar full phase, 1 was allowed to transform in a controlled environment, and then end 5's untransformed state. Results: 1 expressed no signs of understanding their actions. During the next lunar full phase, 1 was allowed to transform again. The instance expressed that their hunting associate had been terminated in a hunting accident, and showed that the event was a tragic accident. Analysis: it appears that instances of 1282 do not recognize one another when in their altered state. However, they do retain at least some vague notion of their feelings throughout each transformation. Testing of this sort is to be ended immediately due to the possibility of damaging the physiological state of specimens currently being studied. So they had the 2 mate with each other, and then had 1 transform and not the other one. They hunted the bunny, and then was like, I don't remember what happened to my mate, but I feel depressed. Okay. Radio Panic. Radio Panic is safe, despite the name. Maybe it's just a radio. SCP-1283 is to be contained in a soundproof storage locker tuned to a frequency free of broadcasts, with volume on its lowest setting. It is to be checked daily for damage or irregular activity by staff equipped with sound dampening headphones. In the event that 1283 activates and 1 begins speaking, the nearest level 3 staff is to be notified immediately, and whoever is determined to have triggered 1 is advised to ignore all vocalizations and remove themselves from the area immediately. In a testing situation, participating researchers are required to wear sound dampening headphones for the first 5 minutes of the test, to ensure that only the intended test subject will trigger 1. In the event that personnel other than the intended test subject begin to focus on 1283, they are to be restrained and sedated immediately. Description: SCP-1283 is a 1930s era home radio with manufacturing labels to indicate it was made by the blank company. The object shows very little damage and wear despite its age. Despite the object's obsolete parts, it is shown to be capable of receiving signals and playing with a consistently high quality of sound, with very little noise or interference. Additionally, it is capable of functioning even when switched off, without any apparent source of power. Inspection of the internal mechanisms of the object reveal parts consistent with other radios of identical make and model. 1283's anomalous effects become apparent when a person, hereafter referred to as the subject, listens to it for more than 15 minutes, regardless of what frequency the radio is tuned to. When said amount of time has passed, anything playing on the radio at that time will become silent, and a voice, hereafter referred to as 1, will address the subject by name. Invariably, the voice utilized by 1 belongs to someone known to the subject. Testing has observed 1 belonging to close friends, parents, spouses, authority figures, and on 1 occasion a news anchor from the blank network. On occasion, the voice used by 1 has been that of a deceased person. Interviews suggest that the voice chosen by 1 belongs to whomever the subject considers to be the most trustworthy. Attempting to manipulate the frequency, volume, or AM/FM settings of the radio after 1 has begun speaking produces no results. After 1 has gained the subject's attention, it will instruct them to listen carefully. At this stage, the subject will begin to focus exclusively on 1283 and will resist attempts to distract them from it. One will then provide the subject with information regarding an upcoming event. All information provided by one to a subject will be referred to as 2. 2 occurs in 3 individual phases, each prefaced by a distinct phrase that has been present across all testing. The 3 phases appear to have nothing connecting them, and only currently affected subjects display any awareness of meaning. Description of 2. The first phase is prefaced with the question, "Do you remember?" and involves 1 prompting the subject to remember a specific person, object, or event. This phase, like 1, has shown to have personal relevance to the subject, either directly or indirectly. As of writing, researchers have found no correlation between the voice selected and the event selected. Subjects display no difficulty recalling this information, regardless of obscurity. The second phase, prefaced with the statement, "Something bad is going to happen," involves 1 giving a warning to the subject. To outside listeners, this warning is cryptic, meaningless, and appears to bear no relation to the first phase. However, no test subject has expressed confusion in regards to the warning. Instead, subjects react with initial shock and surprise, followed by increasing levels of anxiety. Despite distress, subjects continue to resist attempts to stop them from listening to the radio. The final phase of 2 is prefaced with the statement, "You can stop it." Here, 1 delivers a set of instructions to the subject with an assurance that following them will stop the threatened event. The instructions vary from simplistic and easily performed to complex and dangerous, and no discernible pattern has been observed. After instructions have been given, 1 becomes silent, and expected programming will resume. At this point, the subject's anxiety will have grown into a severe panic, and they will indicate an intense desire to perform the instructions presented to them and avert the threatened event. Attempts to stop the subject from doing so has resulted in pleading, threats, and in some cases, violent resistance. Addendum 1. If subjects are allowed to successfully complete the given instructions, their panic state dissipates, and subjects typically report feelings of intense relief. Observations suggest the subjects act with above-average calm and reasoning abilities in future panic situations. Let's see. It was suggested that prospective task force members be intentionally exposed to 1283 for this reason. Request denied by 05 blank stating potential for loss of resources. Interviewed subjects report retention of memories of the radio conversation, but any questions regarding the warning given in the second section elicit only confused responses. No subject has been able to determine any connection between the prompted memory and the warning. In the event that a subject is kept from performing the given instructions for an extended period of time, their panic will continually increase until the subject proves inconsolable and displays a single-minded drive to follow the instructions. However, these effects have proven irreversible. Heavy sedation and class A amnestics used in conjunction have proven effective in countering the effects of listening to 1283. Subjects dealt with in this manner do not display any desire to perform the given instructions, but have been shown to be more susceptible to anxiety and panic. Okay, test log. Well, they did a good amount of tests. Okay, so test 1, disposable dude, voice of their wife. "Do you remember your first car? Something bad is going to happen. The well is going to run dry. You can stop it. You need to break a plate." Result: subject displayed expected panic, allowed a glass plate with which to follow instructions. After throwing it to the ground, the panic subsided quickly. Next test, disposable person. The voice was another disposable person who they had formed a close bond with during their stay at the Foundation. "Do you remember your 5th birthday? Something bad is going to happen. The benefactor's returning home. You can stop it. You must prepare a meal for 5 people. They displayed expected panic, and they were allowed access to some food and basic cookware to follow the instructions. They successfully prepared a simple meal fit for 5 people, and the panic subsided as expected. However, they suffered multiple burns and cuts due to their panic state and careless methods. Next test, disposable person, voice of Greg, later determined to have been one of their friends who died after their incarceration. Do you remember visiting your grandparents? Something bad is going to happen. A key has been forged. You can stop it. You must not sleep for 1 week. They were allowed to attempt to follow the instructions. Due to their agitated state, they successfully went without sleep for 4 days before succumbing to exhaustion. Upon awakening, the subject immediately expressed a desire to, quote, try again. Request denied, sedatives and class amnestics applied. Next test, disposable dude, the voice was their father. Do you remember starting the fire? Something bad is going to happen. The music will stop. You can stop it. You need to break your left arm. They displayed expected panic and attempted to follow instructions, but was successfully restrained and sedated before they succeeded. They were treated for extensive bruising and mild ligament damage. Last test. Disposable person, voice of data expunged, the on-site psychologist who regularly dealt with them. Do you remember Alexander? Something bad is going to happen. The authors grow impatient. You can stop it. You must travel to blank. When you arrive, you must find a child and take them from their home. Keep the child hidden for blank days. Do not allow the child to know your name. Do not allow the child to come to harm. After blank days, release them. They displayed their expected panic and they were not allowed to follow the instructions. They were given sedatives and amnestics after blank hours of observation. Incident Report A. The following is an audio transcript of Incident A, which took place during routine testing on December 19, 2005. Attending researcher Dr. Ivan Somebody. Subject 2419 Disposable Dude. Audio begins at 12 minutes into the tests. Doc, are you sure this is worth studying? I mean, I don't mind listening to music. I just don't see how this is at all meaningful. Just keep listening, D2419. We're almost done here. Whatever you say, it's not my tax dollars you're wasting. 2 minutes pass with the only sound being music played from 1283. Darren, their given name. Kelly? Is that you? What's going... Hey, Doc, something weird is happening with this radio. You need to listen carefully to me, Darren. G2419, may I ask how you were feeling at this moment? Shh! Not now, Doc. I need to listen to Kelly. Do you remember failing that test? Of course I do, Kelly. How could I not? G2419, if you could take a moment... Later, Doc! Something bad is going to happen. There will be a breach. No, that can't be right. That's not supposed to happen. Oh, God, I don't... What will happen to me? This is bad. This is really bad. Shut up! Just shut up so I can listen! You can stop it. Please tell me how, Kelly. Tell me how to stop the breach. You must kill Ivan. Do not allow him to leave this room. Subject becomes silent. A song begins on the radio. D2419, do not move. Guard, please sedate the subject. A crash is heard, presumably them knocking aside the table in an effort to reach Dr. Ivan. The breach can't happen! Struggling is heard. Guards, restrain him! No, you don't understand. I need to kill him or everything is going to go wrong, just like Kelly said. You have to believe me. Sedate him and take him away. No, don't touch me. Please just let me kill him. Closing statement. D2419 was successfully restrained and sedated, but in light of instructions received from 2, said it was terminated for security reasons. Dr. Ivan is treated for a broken nose. Testing discontinued. Request for reclassification to Euclid is pending. Foundation Incident Report. Incident 220-953 dated June 4th, 2012. Incident description. A minor containment breach occurred in the early morning due to improperly followed security guidelines. SCP blank, blank, and blank briefly escaped containment, and were recovered after blank hours. Casualties included several D-classes and 2 Foundation personnel. The responsible party was formally reprimanded for their negligence, but no further action was taken against them. Responsible party, Dr. Ivan. Actions taken, formal reprimand, incident status, resolved. Okay, so that implies that when the radio tells them they need to do something to make something stop, the radio is telling the truth. Because if the radio told the guy to take down Dr. Ivan to prevent the containment breach, and the person who caused the containment breach was Dr. Ivan, the radio is probably telling the truth. Which is interesting, but also very weird. The Moon's Child Bride. Is this one going to be uncomfortable? It sounds like this one's going to be uncomfortable. SCP-1284-1, currently 1-8, is to be contained in a standard-sized humanoid living quarters at Bioresearch Area 12. Fitted with grow lamps? They cover a sun-equivalent light spectrum in addition to normal lighting fixtures. There are to be no windows in its living space, and should a situation arise where one must be moved through or into any space with windows, those windows must be completely blacked out by any means available. Under no circumstances is one to be exposed to direct moonlight, as defined as a direct line of sight between any part of one's body and an illuminated portion of the moon. Under normal circumstances, one is to be kept on a vegetarian diet, given 3 meals per day, and may request 1 snack between meals. Following a 2 formation event, one is to be fed Formula A by nasogastric feeding tube and exposed to a sunlight equivalent light spectrum for 15 minutes out of every hour until it has fully regenerated all 4 limbs and is capable of self-locomotion. There is to be at least 1 nurse on call at all times to help one relocate its shoulders and or hips should they become dislocated outside of a 2 formation event. One is to be kept on hormonal treatments to delay the onset of puberty as long as possible, and tranquilizers to reduce the likelihood of a 2 formation event. Blood samples are to be taken at random intervals no longer than 1 month and no shorter than 5 days, tested for hormone levels, and one's medication dosage adjusted accordingly. A psychological evaluation is to be performed bi-weekly. Once hormone treatments have begun, one is to be kept on continuous suicide watch. Any media SCP-1284-18 is exposed to must be pre-screened to ensure it does not contain any objects, animals, or depictions thereof found listed in documents 6A or B8. Should one expire for any reason, Protocol 1284 Alpha is to be executed immediately to identify the new one and pull it from the general population. Outside of testing, all instances of 2 are to be destroyed via exposure to sun-equivalent light spectrum. The remaining cell slurry is non-anomalous and may be disposed of in whatever manner is most expedient. Description: SCP-1284-1 is a series of pre-menarchal female humans that have undergone severe, permanent, and apparently spontaneous alteration in physiology and psychology. Only one living instance of one has ever been located at one time, but the global nature of the anomaly makes definite confirmation impractical. All instances of one can be considered to suffer from a unique psychosis, fully described in Document 1A. One has smaller than normal ball heads in its hip and shoulder joints, allowing them to luxate easily, but a positive identification requires confirmation of sphincters in the surrounding blood vessels, or direct observation of a 2 formation event. One does not, and possibly cannot, respond to either its designation or its birth name, but will answer to any fair approximation of Moon's Bride, and apparently any language, even if it has no knowledge of the language in question. For a full list of languages tested so far, see Document 5A. For a full list of confirmed working appellations, see Document 5B. For a partial list of confirmed non-working appellations, see Document 5C. To suggest a language or appellation for testing, contact Dr. Stoker during office hours. As of Incident 1284-1/5-009, testing with non-natural invented languages must be signed off by 1284-1 psychologists and at least 2 linguists of level 3 clearance or above familiar with one's circumstances. At sundown local time during a full moon, when one is under high stress, or when one is exposed to direct moonlight, see above, one or more of its limbs will dislocate out of its ball joints and sphincters in the surrounding blood vessels will close. This provokes the onset of apoptosis of tissues distal to the closed sphincters, followed by immediate detachment of the affected limb. Over the course of approximately 5 seconds, a new 2 instance will assemble itself from each shed limb. Instances of 2 are carnivorous, quadrupedal masses of flesh with rudimentary mouths and teeth. When viewed directly, instances of 2 give the visual illusion of being domesticated rabbits. But indirect viewing, such as in a mirror or via a video feed, or a tactile examination reveals that they are in fact hairless and mostly skinless, as well as lacking a distinct head, tail, or discernible sensory organs. 2 instances will invariably attack and attempt to consume any living being other than one, and other than 2 instances that they have an unobstructed path to. 2's pathing abilities are incompletely understood but do not appear to be based on smell, line of sight, echolocation, electrical signals, or the detection of vibration. If presented with a maze and 2 possible targets, one physically closer but with a longer required path, and the other partially physically further away but with a shorter required path, 2 instances will invariably navigate the maze to the target at the end of the short path with no wrong turns. The possible use of 2 in locating lost operatives in spatially inconsistent locations is being looked into. As it consumes tissue, and a 2 instance incorporates it into its own mass, increasing in size until it reaches a total weight of 6.2 kilograms. At that point, it will begin to rapidly reorganize its constituent tissue and, over a period of 7 seconds, split into 3.1 kilogram instances of 2. 1 out of every 8 instances of 2 formed in this way will attempt to path its way back to 1 and feed itself piecemeal to 1. Formed in this way, feed itself to 1. Even when instructed to the contrary, 1 will invariably cooperate to the best of its ability with 2's attempts to feed it. Imaging tests have indicated that 1's stomach becomes internally larger as needed to accommodate tissue from 2 without changing in external measurements. If exposed to a sunlight equivalent light spectrum, 2 instances spontaneously undergo liquefaction, and 2 will begin to regenerate lost limbs at a rate of 2 kilograms an hour if it has consumed enough biomass to do so. While 1's limb regeneration has not been observed to violate conservation of mass, the replacement cells form spontaneously rather than being divided from existing cells by mitosis. Menarche has been invariably fatal to instances of 1, resulting in continuous rapid hemorrhaging and the endometrium until death by exsanguination. Attempts to stop or slow the bleeding have to date all been unsuccessful due to anomalous drastic increases in blood pressure and spontaneous thrombolysis. One instances indicate awareness that this will occur, with expressed feelings about it varying from slight nervousness to eager anticipation. One instances are actively uncooperative with Foundation attempts to delay or prevent Menarch. In the event of the current one instance expiring, a female child between the ages of 2 and 5 living in a rural community of less than 1,000 people becomes a new instance of 1 and will begin to exhibit 1's abnormal behaviors. See document 1A for full behavioral profile. Is that document even in here? The current instance of 1, SCP-1284 1/8, is a human female of Indian descent, blank years old as of blank blank blank. Invariably introduces itself as Kandrani, contrary to its birth certificate, which indicates its given name is blank. 1/8 suffers from an additional psychosis similar to depersonalization disorder without successful reality testing, ultimately forming a personal narrative in which unpleasant events and stimuli are derealized entirely. Although this disturbance is not standard among 1 instances and is not considered anomalous at this time, staff interacting with 1/8 are to be discouraged from challenging this narrative. Okay. Addendum. Transcript of interview attached. Interviewer Dr. Blank. Oh, they're interviewing 1/1. First attempt to obtain information from 1 regarding the nature of 2. Translated from German. Note that 1 is, at the time of this interview, 6 years old. What do you know about SCP-1284-2? What? What do you know about the rabbits that appeared earlier? Oh! You mean my king's subjects? Yes. Could you describe what they were doing? My king ordered that they hold a feast in my honor. I see. What was the occasion? I don't know what you mean. Why did your king order them to hold a feast? It is his right. That doesn't really answer my question. It is his right. Is there a reason he wanted them to hold a feast in your honor specifically? I am his bride, although our marriage is yet to be consummated. Right. Can you tell me more about your king? Looks down, extended pause, looks back up. He is my king. This line of inquiry did not reveal further information. Addendum. Research into a connection between 1284 and other leporine anomalies associated with the moon, such as 1282 and 1640, is ongoing. A connection between the king mentioned by 1/1 and 2686 has been ruled out. Addendum. Attempt to prevent Menarch through surgical removal of 1/3's uterus and ovaries failed. Subject regenerated organs in the same manner as limbs. Second attempt denied approval. Attempt to prevent through malnourishment of 1/3 failed. They experienced Menarch despite their condition and expired at age 12. Attempt to prevent Menarch through hormonal treatment of 1/4 failed. They experienced it and died at age 12. Post-mortem testing indicates the subject's hormone levels were corrected to within expected unmedicated levels by unknown method. Attempt to prevent through hormonal treatment and regular blood monitoring failed on 1/5. Subject unexpectedly experienced Menarch and expired at age 13. Blood sample taken during Menarch indicated correction of hormone levels inconsistent with previous tests. Hormonal treatment not started on 1/6. Subject was suffering from severe pneumonia as a complication of measles infection when initially secured and, despite the best efforts of Foundation and local medical personnel, expired 35 hours later at age 4. Addendum. Blood sample taken from 1/7 24 hours ahead of the regular sampling schedule indicated a higher rate of hormone correction than previous tests indicated. Preliminary randomization of sampling schedule approved. Addendum. Transcript of interview attached. Interviewed 1/7, Dr. Blank. Excerpt from psychological assessment after 1/7 began exhibiting signs of depression and resistance to taking medication. Translated from Mandarin. Note that 1 is, at the time of this interview, 14. Can you describe to me why you feel this way? You are denying my king his right. How so? We were meant to consummate our marriage, but you prevented it. And how did we do that? Your pills. If we didn't give you those pills, you would bleed to death. It is his right. Addendum. Attempt to prevent Menarch through hormonal treatment and irregular blood monitoring of 1/7 successful. Subject punctured own corduroid artery with pen and expired at age 16. So yeah, that one is uncomfortable. Because there's just some thing called the Moon King that's going, hey, that child is mine now. And that's fucked up. The wooden movie prop. That is uncomfortable. It says it's safe, but it's uncomfortable. When not in testing, 1285 is to be placed in a fenced-off plot of land outside of Site-56. While testing, 1285 is to be contained in a concrete containment area fitted with a bed, unless testing protocols require otherwise. While indoors, 1285's roots are to be inspected and trimmed on a daily basis to prevent potential degrading of the containment chamber. Testing is to be conducted only after Level 4/1285 approval, and must be submitted 2 weeks in advance to allow proper growth if necessary. After testing, all instances of 1 are to be removed and incinerated. Following Incident 1285A, no instances of 2 are to be refined. Personnel found attempting to produce refined 2 are to be reassigned to a different project. Should this fail, the offender is to be terminated, and resulting instances of 3 are to be destroyed with extreme prejudice. Description: SCP-1285 is a wooden structure depicting an armless and headless humanoid sitting on a concrete pedestal. Projecting from its shoulders are root-like structures. Nature's embrace is engraved on the back of the pedestal. The object's anomalous properties manifest when placed in an indoor environment. The roots of the sculpture will begin to grow, with a rate of 1 meter per day being observed when unobstructed. Should the roots reach a surface composed of non-organic materials, they will begin production of pigments to match the surface and will attempt to grow through any cracks present. Experimentation shows that 1285's roots grow towards the nearest bedroom, defined as any room containing an implement used for sleeping. If placed in a bedroom, no growth will be observed. Once inside, the roots will not continue to grow until a human subject falls asleep in said room. At this point, 1285's roots will begin a period of rapid flower growth, followed by an attempt to dislodge one of the subject's eyes, leaving a flower, hereby designated 1, in its place. MRI scans show that 1 connects directly to the subject's brain. It is currently not known how the connection works, as no stems have been observed on instances of 1 before being applied. Survivors of this process reported as mildly unpleasant and will show a marked decrease in aggressive behavior. This process has been observed to take place between 16 and 32 seconds. 1 will attract nearby insects, which will pollinate 1285 through the use of 1. Insects have been observed to appear even in areas previously free of them. This will cause the production of sap, hereby designated 2. 2 can be refined into an alcoholic beverage by utilizing data expunged. When consumed, side effects do not appear for 6 hours, at which point stomach pains, headaches, hemorrhaging, and vomiting have been known to occur, increasing in intensity over a 72-hour period. Should the afflicted survive, root-like structures will begin rapidly to grow out of available orifices, eventually covering the afflicted's entire body. The subject in question is now considered an instance of SCP-1285-3, which says, testing reveals this process occurs when any mammal drinks 2, although humans appear to be the most suited to the change. Instances of 3 are hostile towards all mammalian life and will attempt to wound them to the point of immobility. At this point, 3 will bite the subject or the target, at which point victims will display symptoms identical to those caused by 2, but at a highly accelerated rate. No consistent rate was found, with the observed process taking anywhere from 9 to 36 hours. Addendum: SCP-1285 was discovered in a back room in Blank's Bar and Grill in Blank, Colorado at some point in the 1900s. After reports of tree people revealed to be instances of 3 in the area, the owner of the bar, Blank Blank, was amnesticized along with the remaining witnesses, and all instances of 3 were eliminated. A note, document A, was found among Blank Blank's possessions. To my dearest fan, Jared, a sincerest thank you for your help in making my latest movie, Attack of the Root Men, a reality. Let's see. No evidence of this movie has been uncovered. I hope you understand how much your acting brought out. You were the perfect lead, and for that, I sincerely thank you, but look at me go on. As a token of my gratitude, I'll relinquish ownership of the main prop, the statue of the forest god if you weren't aware, to you, and let you in on a little secret. Do you remember how the dastardly Dr. Arbor extracted the forest god's sap to create his tree creatures? Well, just between you and me, you too can produce it, all with the help of my darling prop. All you need to do is place the statue somewhere you can sleep, invite someone into that room, and let the magic unfold. Now all you have to do is take the resulting sap, data expunged. C'est magnifique. Be careful with that stuff, though. It's alcoholic, and I wouldn't want a young man such as yourself driving their career into ruin so early. I can assure you that your talent will make you go far. I am entrusting you this marvelous art in hopes that you can bring out its full potential, just as you did on the set. Expect a package in the mail soon. Best regards, CTM. Which is apparently SCP-3428. So I can only assume there's going to be more stuff like this happening going forward. But, next up we have the Sad Man. Okay, alright, the Sad Man is Keter. Wasn't expecting that. SCP-1286 is contained in its original installation, the basement of somewhere, an entertainment venue located in Manhattan, New York that contains 1286 has since been retrofitted with standard containment procedures outlined in this document. Excuse me. The appearance outside of Area 1286 has not changed and should not change since it has been retrofitted, save for the removal of advertisements on the building and window galleries which have since been removed and replaced with solid walls. The front doors of Area 1286 lead into another hallway where screening procedures and identification protocols must be carried out each time personnel leave and enter the facility. Only one individual may be screened at any time. At least 2 armed guards with concealed weapons and incapacitating agents must be posted in front of the main entrance at all times. Non-personnel attempting to access the venue are to be intercepted and turned away immediately. The use of lethal force is not recommended due to public traffic in the location. Disinformation personnel working with local law enforcement will deal with all casualties at times when this becomes an issue. The basement area of the venue is to be kept clear of personnel at all times, and communication with 1286 must be carried out with wall-mounted audio devices unless otherwise specified by 1286. No personnel save for the site's psychoanalyst, Dr. Sanders, is at any time to attempt to approach 1286 or converse with it. Dr. Sanders is to have an audio link with the containment cell at all times. Personnel who may be seen leaving and entering the facility must be dressed in proper business wear, according to Disinformation Protocol, U.S. Government Critical Infrastructure Facility that has been circulated with local media outlets. Description: SCP-1286 appears to be a plastic replica of the Fat Man atomic bomb. On the left of the hull is an acrylic drawing of a man frowning. Located in the rear is a small loudspeaker attached to the object with duct tape. 1286 occasionally communicates through this device. It claims to be a functioning explosive. 1286 presents great difficulties to all personnel responsible for containment in the sense that it will continually debate with staff as to why it should detonate. When approached, it will begin rocking back and forth on its own volition. Containment personnel who have observed this report it filling them with a great sense of dread, although researchers are not sure as to whether or not this effect is mimetic or due to 1286's apparent nature. Further testing is to be done with unbriefed personnel. The only confirmed anomaly regarding SCP-1286 is the tendency of personnel in charge of the containment to gather around the live feed from the containment cell whenever the device begins rocking. How this is coordinated is not known, but it is reported to be sudden and compulsive, causing extreme anxiety for those present in a small radius outside of the walls. SCP-1286 was discovered in the basement gallery of somewhere, an entertainment and art venue located in Manhattan, New York. 2 agents attended the opening event. Sad Man visits Chelsea with some friends due to concern with specific textual content of posters and other advertisements displayed before the gallery's opening. So it sounds like this is probably by the Are We Cool Yet people. After the exhibit opened, guests were ushered into the basement room containing 1286 by a guide wearing orange shorts and a bandana concealing the face. The figure's identity is not currently known, although it is believed to be the creator of SCP-1286. The figure spoke through a small orange microphone. The voice was projected through a loudspeaker in 1286 hull with various phrases such as, "I'm just a sad little bomb," and "tick tick tick ball." After the space of half an hour, the figure placed the microphone on the ground, after which 1286 continued his phrasing unaided. Addendum 1286-B, Session 23. The following is an exchange between 1286 and Dr. Sanders. The conversation is typical. Doc? Doc? Are you there? Yes, Jeffrey. You wanted to be called Jeffrey, correct? Yeah, Doc. Can we talk? Of course, Jeffrey. I've been thinking about how I'm a bomb, right? Yes, you appear to be an atomic bomb. I've been having an, existential crisis. I feel like I'm supposed to explode. I mean, I'm a bomb. It's normal for you to feel that way, Jeffrey, but let's be rational here. You might kill thousands upon thousands, and the fallout would kill even more. But that's
what I'm supposed to do. I'm a mom. I can feel it in my core. I mean, there, my trigger. It's cold. But it can be warm if I just flicked it.
Jeffrey, we've been over this many times. If you keep responding like this, we may have to disarm you.
But you won't. You won't because if you come near me, I'll fucking do it. I'll blow you all to hell.
Jeffrey, please, you'll kill it.
Say I won't.
1286 begins rocking back and forth slowly for a space of 15 minutes, occasionally tilting to an extent that would typically cause an object of such weight to fall over on its side. 7 site personnel observed with what appear to be panic attacks, and 3 personnel exhibit syncope during the event. Related groups of interest. I called it! I called it. So, closure. Which is neutralized. Been a while since we got one of those, but I mean, it is called closure. Due to the immovable nature of the object, Site-98 has been built around SCP-1287. The only persons permitted to make direct contact with it are disposable dudes. As of April the 16th, 1987, disposable testing of 1287 is to take place once every 2 hours in between treatments of the object in order to observe any changes in the responses. Description: SCP-1287 is a rectangular white marble structure located somewhere within the state of Washington in the United States of America. The object stands 3 meters in height, 10 in length, and 1 meter wide. It cannot be moved or altered in any way, including but not limited to graffiti etching and high-speed impact. At irregular intervals, the names of missing individuals will appear engraved into the structure. All the individuals currently existent on the structure have been confirmed missing or presumed dead. No person whose name appears has been noted to reappear. When a sapient organism makes physical contact with one of the names, that subject will report hearing a voice. When more than one name is touched, no anomalous effects can be observed. This phenomenon varies widely between people, apparently being roughly related to what the person considers to be a pitiful or endearing. The voice will always administer the same message to the person. This person's family needs you. Will you give your life to help them? If the person audibly responds positively, they will immediately be transfigured into the physical appearance of the person whose name they touched and are hereby designated as an instance of SCP-1287-A. The transfiguration appears to account for the physical growth of that person since their disappearance. E.g., when D-28342 touched the name Chloe McNyman, who was reported missing 8 years earlier at the age of 4, he became a 12-year-old girl. Additionally, the person's name will be removed from the face of the structure. These entities will also gain the memories and information regarding that person, including the events of their disappearance, as well as a strong urge to return to their family and or loved ones. If allowed to do this, instances of A will lose all sense of their former personality over the course of 3 months and will eventually completely believe they are the missing person. Class A, C, and D amnestics have been shown to incur this same effect. However, Class B amnestics will cause complete amnesia in A subjects, including the information they gained when first transfigured. All persons that were personally acquainted with the missing subject before the introduction of A will show a noticeable lack of interest to that person's whereabouts during the period when they disappeared. Along with this, A entities are very reluctant to share this information. However, if extensively questioned and confronted about their previous identity, these beings will often divulge information regarding the person's actual disappearance. Site Director's Note: at the moment, it appears that the names of at least 50 Foundation personnel MIA are sketched into 1287. As such, the object may be used in order to discover the circumstances under which these personnel disappeared. Instances of A created for this purpose are to be terminated after divulging the relevant information. Site Director Lohman. Addendum 1287 Gamma. On April the 16th, 1987, approximately 2 months after the Foundation containment of 1287, the anomaly began exhibiting delayed reaction to subjects touching the engraved names. Further research regarding 1287 is ongoing to discover the source of this. Addendum Psi. On August the 16th, 1987, at approximately 1500 hours, all names etched into 1287 spontaneously disappeared, and the object ceased displaying anomalous properties. After this point, the structure was vulnerable to damage and alteration, as shown through the accidental damage caused when it fell off the transport vehicle during its transfer to an analysis site 53 for final examination of possible still existent effects. The object shattered when it fell, revealing a deceased human male human within. The subject appeared to have died at a time corresponding to the cessation of 1287's effects. Furthermore, subsequent autopsy of the individual revealed the neurological structure often possessed by Type Red Level 5 reality benders. Both the remains of 1287 and the body have been sent to Analysis Site 53 for final examination. Addendum Omega. Analysis of the body found within 1287 has found that the subject died from a combination of dehydration and starvation. Foundation personnel were also able to positively identify the man as blank blank,
a benefactor who had often funded and raised money for missing persons programs, who had supposedly died 7 years earlier. Additionally, Foundation investigation of the remains of 1287 revealed a message written on the interior of the structure which read, "I can feel that even my own power isn't going to keep me afloat for much longer. I never thought that it would end. I thought I was invulnerable. But it doesn't matter. Those people's families are happy now. I did my part." So I guess the reason it was safe is because it was a rock that you couldn't break, but it wasn't hurting anybody, and it's neutralized because the person inside who was actually bending reality for this purpose died from being trapped inside of a rock. Apparently he had been using his powers to not die from being trapped inside of a rock, but eventually that stopped working for him. Timely encouragement. Safe. SCP-1288, when not being tested, is to be held in storage locker blank at Site-19. Personnel are to observe it at all times while the item is being transported in order to avoid unnecessary collisions. When exploring a new location, population centers in particular, a Geiger counter must be in use. Description: SCP-1288 is a cylindrical object with density, angular momentum, and refractive index consistent with the glass of the same dimensions. The interior depicts the equivalent location of what has been determined to be an alternate timeline, believed to have diverged from our own in approximately the late 14th to early 15th centuries. The world that is depicted is frozen in a single moment, which astronomical observations from multiple locations indicate is the winter solstice of 2012 at approximately 6 o'clock in the morning GMT. Examination of the few easily accessible historical documents show that the major point of divergence depended on the choices made by Admiral Zhang He. While claims in our own timeline of such an encounter are dubious, it is clear that in the alternate world, Zhang He's fleet explored the west coast of the Americas. A strong trade relationship between China and the Mayan Empire resulted from this. While North America saw some limited European colonization, attempts at conquest of Central and South America were unsuccessful due to Chinese technologies and manpower, which allowed the ruling parties there to remain in control. As a result, Europe plays a smaller role in the modern world stage, which is primarily dominated by the Sino-American alliance. Recovery log. 1288 was initially discovered on December 27, 2012, in front of the entrance to Site-19. Initially determined to be an anomalous item that can only be moved in the vertical dimension, it was soon found to have been placed within a tube in the alternate timeline. When 1288 was removed from the tube, a plaque could be seen through it, clearly indicating that the item was intended to be found by Foundation personnel. Refer to document A for details of plaque. Okay, observations of significant locations as viewed through 1288. Site-19. A rough replica of Site-19 is found at the location, with both above-ground and underground structures hastily constructed and excavated respectively. Plaques are located at a number of contained objects providing notes on how a containment breach may occur so that maximum casualties would be suffered. Okay. The southern Manhattan Island. The southern tip of the island is heavily urbanized with a large native population and a minority of assimilated Europeans, whereas the remainder of the island consists of suburbs and farmland. Few residents can be seen in their homes. It is theorized that the majority of the population has traveled to the urbanized area in the south. On the southern tip is a pyramidal structure which cannot be easily explored due to differences in city planning. Mexico City, Mexico. The city appears to be a major economic hub, home to people of multiple ethnicities, including East Asian, African, and European, along with a large native population. Much of the population is congregated about a large pyramidal structure similar to that seen in southern Manhattan. Despite evidence pointing to a religious celebration, limited exploration of the structure suggests that it is some variety of power plant, though the processes used to generate energy are not immediately apparent. Beijing, People's Republic of China. The city is populated primarily by both Asian and native Central American ethnicities. As with the two previous locations, a pyramid can be found in the city, around which a significant portion of the populace are gathered. While this group is also celebrating, a number of violent incidents are occurring on the periphery between the local constabulary and Central Americans. Paris, France. A mass evacuation is occurring. Much of the population, consisting of African, Native American, and European ethnicities, have left the city. A large military presence is situated in the center of Paris, with the majority of personnel focusing their attention on the pyramid at this location. Data redacted. This population center in Ethiopia was built within the last century and has no analog in our own timeline. Because of this, exploration can be performed more effectively, and any structures blocking researchers' paths can be demolished with no risk of public scrutiny. As in Paris, an evacuation is taking place and military forces are descending upon the central pyramid. Multiple entrances are open, allowing exploration. Observations continue to confirm that the structure functions as a power plant, which is operated primarily by those of American descent. Many have been killed by local soldiers, while others seem to have taken their own lives. As researchers explore deeper into the pyramid, 1288 becomes noticeably warmer. At one junction, approximately 150 meters from the center of the pyramid, a bright light can be seen. This is coupled with a significant increase in temperature. Description by the observer prior to expiring due to exposure to radiation suggests that the power plant is in the process of detonation. Wait, so is this a full-size thing people could just walk around in? Okay, document A, transcription of plaque. At the Dear SCP Foundation, for some time we have been observing your development, and we are pleased that, so far, it is on par with our own. We have learned much from you, including many political experiments that we would have been afraid to perform, and the power inherent in the calendar. How you have concluded that the end of the calendar signifies the end of all things, we cannot be sure. Before we saw you, we thought it was only a way to tell the passing of seasons and kings. Your reckoning of time inspired us and urged us to take action. We have left for you this record to show how we succeeded. For 100 years, you have only waited for the end to come. From this, we concluded that we must instead bring it about. Please, study it so that you might properly plan in the next 1,000 years. We await you on the other side of the glorious end. Sincerely, this person. So it sounds like the different reality that this SCP came from was watching the reality they sent it to, and they're like, we didn't have a calendar in our world, but we looked at your calendar, and your calendar seemed to think that the world was going to end in 2012, and since you thought that, we just went ahead and did it on purpose. See you when you do it! Which is strange. When was this written? 2017 is when it was last edited. Okay. Next up is Karen's Obel, or Sharon's Obel. Kairon's Obel. Is it just the coin? SCP-1289 is held within a 0.5 meter cubed chamber. Oh, it's Euclid. Chamber composed of level 4 ballistic glass. The chamber is affixed with the display readout of a 24-hour atomic clock set to Greenwich Mean Time. Is that what GMT means? Okay. The coin is secured centrally within a free-spinning armature, both ends of which are held in place by way of magnetic levitation. The chamber is to be observed at all times by a minimum of 3 cameras with feeds directly transmitted to an on-site monitoring and recording suite, Overwatch HQ, and Information Logistics Unit blank. I'm not sure why I said HQ like that. The last time I did that, I was being silly, but that time it just kind of happened. Any and all movement of SCP-1289 is to be called to the attention of the site director. Description. SCP-1289 is a coin of indeterminate origin weighing exactly 10 grams. Although the coin shows signs of wear, sampling for purposes of metallurgical analysis have proven impossible. Linguistic analysis reveals the coin's writing to be a heretofore unrecorded evolution of Latin. Foundation linguists have translated the language and have found that the writing changes during activation events. See below. The obverse of the coin depicts a traditionally Greco-Roman profile, while the reverse shows a roadman piloting a gondola-style boat. Under specific circumstances, hereafter referred to as activation events, the coin will, under its own power, jump and begin flipping in midair. The coin will reach and maintain a maximum flip speed of 170 RPM for 5 minutes, measurements consistent with in every event. No effective means to restrain the coin from activating have been found. When pinned, encased, or otherwise restrained from jumping, the coin will pulverize any material interfering with the flipping. I can only assume they've had disposable people reach out for it to see what happens. When allowed to land on a surface, the coin never lands on an edge, bounces, rolls, or otherwise displays any level of ambiguity concerning its heads or tails result. Current containment procedures satisfy the coin's need to jump during activation events, which still occur in containment with the coin freezing on a result. Activation events. Submitted by Information Logistics Unit blank. A correlation between activation events and several persons of significance has been established. A person of significance is defined as a person whom, in surviving, will directly influence global events and culture. Causality Study 1289 Alpha has determined that the coin is neither portentous or nor casual to the death of survival of a person of significance, and yet displays a deterministic factor correlated by way of heretofore unknown means. Partial log of significant activation events. February 3rd, 1959. Tails indicates expiration, identity unverified, multiple possible subjects. Translation, a word translated as silent or quiet. June 12th, 1962. Heads indicate survival, identity verified in 1979. Translation, a phrase translated as use force or utilize might. March 30th, 1981. Heads, identity verified within 12 hours, the phrase frozen blade or ice weapon. January 27th, 84. Heads, identity verified within 24 hours. The phrase long live the king or life to the ruler. March 31st, 1993. Tails indicates expiration, identity verified within 72 hours. The phrase do not look or look away. Special activation log, ILU, blank access only. January 10th, 2016. Result inconclusive, see notes. A word translated as home or center appearing on both sides of the coin. Activation notes. This is the strangest activation of the obol we have witnessed. Although we were informed of the subject of the flip within mere minutes, the flip itself was a singular event. The coin was spun in its housing as usual, however, when the usual freeze event occurred, the obol was facing as if on edge, and identical writing was recorded from both sides. This is the first and only truly ambiguous event result the obol has expressed. I'm forced to wonder if the coin knows more than it usually provides. Dr. G, Mains Director, Information Logistics Unit blank. Okay, so it sounds like something's going to happen to the coin, but they don't know what it was yet. When was this written? Last edited last July of 2020, not of this year. Okay, Imperfect Teleporter. It's safe? I mean, okay, sure, why not? Research sites 48 Alpha and Beta have been established around branching facilities housing 1 and 2. Wait. Okay, we are in 1290. 1291 and 2 respectively. Activation experiments involving 1290 have been indefinitely suspended pending a better understanding of its operational principles. Description. SCP-1290 is a pair of prototype electronic devices that were built by Prometheus Labs as part of research into long-range teleportation. Each device consists of a platform 2 meters in diameter attached to a 5x20x3 main unit, both of which draw power from a dedicated generator. The two copies of 1290 are located at diametrically opposed antipodal locations of the Earth, with one located at redacted Colombia and two located in redacted Singapore. When an object is placed on the platform of 1 and the main unit is activated, the object is instantaneously, with approximately a 10 millisecond delay, teleported to the platform of 2. However, due to what is suspected to be a design or engineering flaw, the object retains its orientation and velocity relative to the axis of the Earth. That is, when a stationary object enters 1, it exits 2 upside down and traveling east at approximately 930 meters per second. See Addendum 1 for more details. Or information, whatever, same thing. SCP-1290 came to the Foundation's attention following the closure of the Prometheus Labs main facility and was secured and contained at some point by elements of Mobile Task Force MU-4 debuggers. The chief engineer in charge of 1290, Dr. Redacted, is wanted for questioning by the Foundation and has yet to be located. SCP-1290 is currently being reverse engineered by Foundation research teams in an effort to understand and replicate its technology. Addendum 1 Incident Report Initial Activation Experiment on blankety blank blank. In order to establish the functionality of 1290, Foundation researchers attempted to teleport a regulation 14-pound bowling ball from 1 to 2, resulting in 3 casualties and severe damage to the research facility and a neighboring warehouse. Until 1290 is fully functional and the source of this flaw is identified, activation experiments have been suspended until further notice. So, if it makes things travel upside down east at 930 meters per second, that means they put a 14-pound bowling ball in there and it fired out into Singapore at 930 meters per second. And I don't know how much that is in whatever math I've been forced to know my whole life, but it sounds bad. Next up is the football gods? Okay, the football gods are Euclid. SCP-1291 is to be contained in an empty Class 4 refrigeration unit. 1291 is to be restrained on a thermally insulated wheelchair to prevent injury, is to wear a blindfold at all times. Personnel interacting with 1291 are under no circumstances to make direct skin-to-skin contact. In the event of accidental direct combat, affected personnel may request termination. Oh. Binding maintenance procedures. Each week of the NCAA Division I Football Bowl subdivision, SCP-1291 is to be taken to a specially prepared stadium box in Harris Teeter Stadium at Mississippi River College to watch the football team, the Moccasins, play. No civilians are allowed contact with 1291, and any that recognize it will be turned away. The Mississippi River College Moccasins are under no circumstances to be allowed to play in a BCS Bowl or to leave NCAA Division I. The Foundation has arranged with the college to ensure the Moccasins maintain a safe level of performance. The physical safety of 1291 must also be ensured. Violations of these procedures strengthen 1291's anomalous effects and are therefore to be avoided at all costs. Description: SCP-1291 is a Caucasian male with graying blonde hair of approximately 40 years of age, apparently possessed by an entity of unknown nature designated SCP-1291-1. SCP-1291 is wheelchair-bound, but records show that 1291 stood 184 centimeters tall prior to gaining anomalous properties. The eye color is unknown as cameras cannot focus with his eyes in the frame, and looking at them directly exposes the viewers to the deleterious mental effects. Though 1291 is capable of vocalization and movement, it has so far not demonstrated any ability to speak coherently, cannot walk, and frequently attempts to move in ways not atomically possible in a human body, necessitating its restraint. 1291 has not demonstrated physical strength above human levels. It has a body temperature of about 155 degrees Celsius and does not need to eat, drink, or breathe. Physical contact is universally fatal within a week as it causes rapid growth of cancerous tumors throughout the body. Continued exposure to 1291 results in full sensory hallucinations and increasingly disorganized thoughts and speech patterns, developing within about 48 hours of exposure. By 96 hours, all subjects tested so far have been rendered comatose. These symptoms do not fade with time, making eye contact with 1291 causes immediate catatonia. If the binding maintenance procedures are not followed, the body of 1291 will begin to degrade. Patches of the skin gain similar properties to its eyes, and its body temperature rises significantly. Additionally, ash starts to materialize on unobserved surfaces in an expanding area. It is believed that this represents a weakening of the effects keeping one contained within 1291. These effects gradually diminish back to the baseline when a proper procedure is restored. Prior to containment, 1291 was Roy Wilson, the head coach of the Mississippi River College football team. Background research suggests Mr. Wilson had Serpent's Hand connections, though he was likely not a member. It is believed that he attempted to summon 1291-1 to improve the Mississippi River College Moccasins' performance at football. To date, 1291 has not acted in any way to affect the Moccasins or their opponents. Addendum 13. Attempts to abolish the BCS system for college football also seem to induce a degraded state in 1291. Continuation of the BCS system is therefore designated as part of the binding maintenance procedures for it. Document 2. Recovered documents from the Journal of Roy Wilson. Extraneous material omitted. January 8th. The Moccasins will win when hell freezes over. Another season passed and our best chance for years squandered. 7-5. Better, but not even close to good enough. And with Vernon and Rose graduating, we lose half our defense. There's no way we can do this well next season, even if Tanner lives up to his potential. I've done all I can. I want to tell these kids we're going to do it next season. We're going to go all the way, but I can't lie to them or myself. January 18th. I have a very bad idea. Those folks from college, the sorcerers, magicians. For lack of a better word, sorcerers. I once tried their magic a little, and I think I had some talent at it. Perhaps I could try that? Assuming that stuff is even real, and not the product of a different sort of experimentation from UT days. February 1st. It's real. It's not a trick of my memory. It's the answer I need. My old notes were right. I went from the MRC library straight through to a rather grander library. There's a way of walking, a way of thinking. It's not some mystical right. You just walk along the wisdom. Anyhow, I found some books. It's a library. That's what it's for. Magic to raise the morale of my team. Magic to wither my opponents. February 2nd. Calling the power is easy. The challenge is channeling it safely. As near as I can tell, it's best to do this through binding a spirit so that it takes the brunt of the fulcrum effect. It's just energy balancing. Bind a spirit into the Moccasins win a BCS bowl. Why isn't this stuff used more? 2 days later, raise some spirits with the rituals in the book. It's easy to do, but they can't help me. It's like that old joke where the genie says that peace in the Middle East will be easier than the Saints winning the Super Bowl. I tell them I want the Moccasins restored, but no. That's the one thing they can't do. There's gotta be a better way than this at the FAR library. Got one last book. They didn't want to let me check this one out, but I insisted. About to try the summoning. Believed to be February 8th. Dread thing rose, but bound, bound, bound. It shall serve. In my head there's a sick silk nail. Until we win, the feathered eye will turn its gaze to the world. When the moccasins win, hell will freeze over. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have done that. Contagious Scantron disease. What's up with college right now? And then we got Squeedle-Deedle-Dee. It's probably not Patrick, but it might be. Leedle-Leedle-Lee! Okay, so, SCP-1292 is Euclid. All machines found affected by 1292 are to be dismantled and incinerated, with the exceptions of 3, 7, and 9, which are to be kept in Containment Locker 2039 at Site 24. If an outbreak is to occur in a civilian area, Protocol Meta F is to be followed. Usage of 1292 instances to grade copies of 2496 is forbidden. Description: SCP-1292 is an electronic fault spread between the Scantron brand multiple-choice scanning devices. While the route of transfer is unknown at this time, the fault has been found to spread between scanners connected to the same network, electrical circuit, or directly. It may also be spread between machines which are kept within 30 meters of each other in open space, regardless of being activated. This fault may take several weeks to affect the operations of the machine, making it difficult to quarantine. Once affected, the machine will take an abnormally long amount of time in marking a multiple choice sheet, and may have one or several effects emerge while marking. 1 in 4 or 5 questions will be marked incorrect seemingly randomly. The machine will only read dots filled in with a number 3 HB pencil. Specific dots will be marked incorrectly in order to spell out words such as cab, bad, and bed. Every answer will be marked incorrect. Specific dots will be marked incorrectly in order to create diagonal or vertical lines if dots were to be filled. And the test may remain unmarked. SCP-1292 is incurable regardless of reset of the machine. Due to its latency period, researchers are unsure if it has been quarantined. Addendum 7, a Scantron brand machine with a digital display was tested. The following is displayed while the machine was marking. Man, I didn't study the answers to this. Did we even learn this? So bored. I don't even care, I'll just bomb this and go play COD. Okay, so it sounds like the machines are infected with people? Huh. Squeedle-Deedle-Dee. Squeedle-Deedle-Dee is Euclid. All known specimens of Squeedle-Deedle-Dee are to reside within a standard containment habit at Biosite 12. Specimens of A are to be engaged in Procedure 722 Ephraim once per month to avoid the production of C. A minimum of 15 armed security personnel must be present within the habitat at all times to neutralize specimens of C in the event that one is produced. Completed specimens of A1 are to be photographed before consumption by A. What? Personnel present within the habitat are not to attempt communication or physical interaction with specimens of B during a Terpsichore event? What the fuck is happening here? Squeedle-Deedle-Dee is a species of humanoid creatures of unknown origin. Each specimen is unique in appearance, although all specimens generally resemble costumed human beings. Autopsies performed on deceased specimens have shown that 1293 are completely unclothed, with skin, bone, and muscle tissue mimicking the various types of fabric. They possess biological components resembling a human circulatory system, except the system carries and distributes multicolored balls of sugar instead of blood. They have no apparent nervous systems or digestive tracts and do not require food, drink, or sleep. They possess no visible reproductive organs, however 53% of them are capable of reproduction. For the purpose of this document, such specimens will be considered female and referred to as A, whereas male, non-reproducing specimens will be referred to as B. A vocally communicate in American English, speaking with masculine voices in a cheerful manner. Capable of reproduction, A gestate for their young for a period of roughly 9 months before giving birth to another specimen of 1293. Newborn 1293 emerged from their mothers fully matured in size and intelligence. A delivered the young via their mouths, which anonymously elongate to accommodate the child's size. A similar orifice will be substituted if the mother does not possess a mouth. What do you mean if the mother doesn't possess a mouth? Because newborn 1293 are roughly the same size as their progenitors, it is presumed that gestation takes place inside an extra-dimensional space within A. If A are not impregnated by a procedure 722 Ephraim, they will produce C once per month until procedure 722 Ephraim is executed. The word pregnant is used in this article to describe A's state between the execution of procedure 722 Ephraim and the birth of a new 1293. A cannot be considered pregnant in a literal sense as they have no reproductive organs. SCP-1293-B are generally lethargic in nature and highly reclusive, avoiding contact with human beings and other specimens of 1293. Unlike A, B have shown no capacity for speech. Every 45 days, B will congregate and a terpsichore event will take place, Addendum 1. Due to the precisely coordinated nature of terpsichore events, it is assumed that B are capable of communicating telepathically. C are malevolent entities produced by A if not impregnated by a procedure 722 Ephraim. C differ from other specimens of 1293 in that they generally possess large teeth, multiple arms, prehensile tongues, and elongated talons. C are openly hostile towards human beings and will attempt to mutilate any individual they encounter. Ephraim is the process by which A are impregnated. To begin the procedure, a child aged 4 to 12 years old and belonging to an on-site personnel member is to be introduced to the specimen of A that is in the specimen A that is in heat. If A decides the child is suitable, it will regurgitate a sheet of paper, A1, and a metal tin of Crayola-based crayons, A2. Using his or her imagination, the child must then draw a picture of a humanoid creature. If an adult human attempts to influence the child's drawing process, whether it be during the procedure or beforehand, A will announce that the child is unsuitable and a different child must be selected. If A deems the completed A1 acceptable, it will devour it, thereby impregnating A. The resulting 1293 specimen will resemble the drawing of A1. Okay, so I guess that's why they might not have a mouth. Alright, so, Addendum 1, the following is a table listing examples of recorded terpsichore events. The first one, in 1998, B silently performed the choreography from the 1982 Broadway production Cats in its entirety. 99, splitting into 4 individual groups, B performed all 4 acts of the Russian ballet La Bayadere simultaneously, which is also known as the Temple Dancer. 2004, B lay face down in 3 separate rows and undulated their bodies in a wave-like motion on the ground for roughly 5 hours. 2007, they engaged in Filipino tinikling, substituting bamboo with other B, a traditional native dance that involves stepping between 2 pieces of bamboo that are continuously knocked together. 2009, they performed the choreography from the music video Single Ladies Put a Ring on It for 39 seconds before quickly dispersing in different directions. Okay, Addendum 2. The following is an interview conducted with a pregnant A specimen. A used a number of words and phrases that do not correspond to any known language. These have been transcribed phonetically for readability and integrity in this interview. Now, I'm pretty sure it said they all have deep voices. I'm double checking. It says they communicate vocally in American English with masculine voices in a cheerful manner. Okay. Good morning. How are you feeling? Squeedly deedly dee! I'm absolutely wonderful, Mr. Nice Person type man! My loin child should be ready for regurgitationing in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Very good. Now, please take a moment to explain your selection process for children used in Procedure 722 Ephraim. I only look for childrens that are goodly and pure of heart. They also must have great, big, whale-sized imaginations. You only accept children belonging to researchers assigned to your containment. Why is this? If I used a stranger's children's, that would just be sweetly weird. Do you want to see me do a merry jig? No, thank you. A4 disregards Dr. Reeves and begins dancing. Wibbly wibbly woo, I wish I could hug big beautiful you. Schmickly schmackly schmarms, I sadly don't have any arms. That's quite enough. Please try to focus on the interview. What are SCP-1293-C? You mean my whoopsie daisies? It's not polite to ask a lady type about her special monthly times, Mr. Noisy Poisy. And any information you could give us on the nature of C will be greatly beneficial in preventing personnel casualties. I'm sorry they come out so mean and scary. If I don't have the children's imagination seat in my wooble spot, I sploosh out things from my own imagination, and I'm afraid that's a very squeedly scary place. I'm not sure Oh dear, my loin child cometh. Expels A5 from its mouth. Greetings, loin mother, I am child. It is a lady type. I am the happy for I have children's. A4 and A5 simultaneously. Squidly-dee-dee! End log. The following is a message sent to Biosite Director Roward by Dr. Goodwin. Hello. As you are aware, I have been the head researcher of SCP-1293 since Dr. Rees was terminated for unrelated reasons. Having spent roughly a year observing 1293, I have come to the conclusion that present documentation of SCP-1293, particularly in regard to A's reproductive process, is inaccurate and in urgent need of revision. When I first transferred to this project, I was surprised that Dr. Rees had based much of 1293's documentation on testimony by A specimens. Feeling that it was not sufficient to go by A's words alone, I put in place a number of new research guidelines, including the discrete video monitoring of 1293 during the 24 hours following Procedure 722 Ephraim. The footage that we have since obtained has shown that specimens A and B do, in fact, mate, using a thin red tendril that extends from the male's mouth to the female's. Frankly, I am appalled that such a crucial aspect of 1293 has not previously been documented. Now that we know SCP-1293 reproduced by mating, that leaves the question of what Procedure 722 Ephraim accomplishes, as well as the question of what C are. I have a theory that I believe addresses both of these issues. Contrary to current documentation, SCP-1293 do indeed feed, empathically drawing sustenance from human emotion. A feed on feelings of unease and perturbation, and B feed on feelings of confusion and bewilderment. B are easily capable of subsisting on the feelings expressed by research personnel during terpsichore events, but A must employ more elaborate methods of feeding. In addition to unsettling the children, A forces us to use our own kids as a ploy to provoke an emotional reaction from jaded Foundation personnel. If A has gone without food for an extended length of time, it will release C as an emergency defense mechanism. In order to test this theory, I propose that a revised version of 1293 special containment procedures will be used on a trial basis. SCP-1293-A and B are to be kept in separate habitats, as I believe they should have been when initially contained. Procedure 722 Ephraim will be altered to use D-Class personnel who have been provided fabricated information about 1293 to enhance their levels of discomfort and anxiety during the process. Finally, now that we know the purpose of terpsichore events, a similar D-Class procedure will be put in place to ensure that B will still be able to feed. It is regrettable that it took this long to see things for what they are, but I hope that with this knowledge we will be able to contain 1293 with greater efficiency. Revisions to the documentation and containment procedures are currently underway. And it was last edited this August, only 45 days ago. So it sounds like the deal with this SCP is that the one guy did not contain it very well because he went based off of what they tell him instead of based off of what it actually does. Now it's time for the Laughing Fox, which is also Euclid. SCP-1294 is to be contained in a room measuring 5 by 5 by 3 meters with a filtered ventilation system. I'm half expecting it to not really be a fox, but who knows. Like that one guy that was a raccoon, but not really. Proper medical facilities are to be maintained at all times, and 1 kilogram of raw meat should be provided once at 8 a.m. Interaction between staff and 1294 is to be kept to a minimum. Feeding, grooming, and waste disposal have been automated, and all personnel must wear a respirator before entering 1294's containment chamber. Mobile Task Force Z8, aka Spear Hunters, are to be deployed to the Sahara Desert in search of further instances of 1294 under the guise of poachers. The Spear Hunters are to transport instances to sites somewhere for termination via incineration. Oh. Description. SCP-1294 appears to be a male Fetic Fox Vulpes Zerda, measuring 27 centimeters in length and weighing approximately 1.1 kilograms at minimum. Barring hunting methods and procreation, 1284 has shown no differences in behavior to that of a typical Fetic Fox. It is composed entirely of a fungal material which replicates its skin, skeleton, and fur. The majority of 1294's internal structure consists of a thick mold of varying viscosity. SCP-1294 continuously exhales a toxin containing heavy amounts of psilocybin and mucimol. If left exposed for longer than approximately 2 minutes, subjects will enter a consistently increasing state of euphoria until removed from 1294's presence. Subjects will become briefly distressed if removed from 1294, but no permanent or long-lasting effects have been found. I'm pretty sure psilocybin is the chemical in the mushrooms people eat to get high, but I don't know for certain because I've never had to think about it. Subjects exposed for longer than 5 minutes have been shown to be highly resistant to pain and behave in a similar manner to those under the influence of a psychedelic hallucinogen. Subjects removed from 1294 have not recovered from the majority of these effects, and have been known to initiate self-harm in an attempt to provoke stimuli. If SCP-1294 sees a subject in this state, it will lie on or against the subject and rest. During this time, the skin will appear to melt and grow over the subject, later shifting it into 1294's abdomen. SCP-1294 has shown no limit to what it can envelop, and is capable of processing over 190 metric tons of food in 1 week. 1294 only consumes living prey in this manner, preferring to eat already dead subjects or process food normally. Similarities between 1294 and 367's predatory technique and choice of disguise have been noted. Investigation into a shared origin or ancestors for both anomalies is ongoing. Show human exposure. Subjects D-1294 1 through 150. Procedure. It is to be locked in a metal cage during D-Class personnel's exposure to it in order to prevent their consumption. Subjects were told that they were testing a new drug, which will be released through the air vent. D-Class personnel were informed that 1294's reason for being there was to observe a side-by-side comparison of human and animal testing. 30 D-Class personnel to be individually observed for each minute of exposure. Okay? For the first 2 minutes, it looks, at least I think that's the first 2 minutes. Subjects appear sober with little to no differences in behavior until approximately 1 minute 20, reporting a calming sensation and a mild brightness in their vision. The D-Class personnel removed from the test chamber expressed a mild disappointment for being removed, but addiction to the toxin or any permanent effects have not been found. 2 to 3 minutes, subject reported bright colors and objects shifting about in the room. Several noted that 1294 appeared to be smiling. 24 of the 30 were removed and recovered 1 to 13 hours later, and compared the experience to being heavily intoxicated with alcohol. The remaining 6 remained under the influence. 3 to 4 minutes, they typically began laughing softly. They reported being able to see sounds, objects in the room becoming animate, and the room appeared to be breathing. Experiences vary between subjects, but each past this stage reported that 1294 began speaking to them. They do not recall what it told them, except that they found the conversation either highly entertaining or friendly. 16 of the 30 personnel recovered 15 to 26 hours later, expressing a disinterest in being exposed further, remarking that they found the experience largely unsettling. The remainder of the 14 experienced permanent brain damage of varying severity. In 4 to 5 minutes, they stopped laughing and typically became motionless approximately 4 minutes 30 after. Is that 4.5 minutes or 4 hours and 30 minutes? They experienced a total loss of their cognitive and somatic senses. They became increasingly irritated as it was held from. Oh, so 1294 became increasingly irritated as it was held from a subject. It attempted to escape the cage, typically from either scratching or gnawing at the bars. All 30 of the D-Class retrieved fell into a comatose state. 139 and 144 recovered 2 weeks later, showing symptoms of those exposed to 1293 for 3 or 4 minutes. 1294 for 3 to 4 minutes. Both 139 and 144 are either unwilling or unable to recount the experience. When inside of 1294, they start speaking incoherently and showed signs of intense anxiety. Analysis. 139 and 144 both had a history of drug abuse consisting mainly of that one, Oxycontin, and cocaine, which is hypothesized to be a reason why recovery was possible. Upon monthly termination, a drawing was found in 139's back pocket. Drawing featured what is presumed to be 139 facing his termination, with a smiling Fetic Fox observing it, and the word "Good day" written on the top. Investigations on how 139 became aware of his termination are ongoing. Further testing is ongoing. Show Fetic Fox exposure. Okay. Subject 1 male Fetic Fox. Subject is to be introduced into 1294's containment chamber. Researchers are to record any possible abnormal behavior. Result. Subject was cautious of 1294 for the duration of the test. When under the effect of the toxin, 1294 led the subject to the far corner of the testing chamber before the subject was knocked unconscious. 1294 did not attempt to consume the subject and instead lay down against the opposite corner until the subject was retrieved. Subject made a full recovery. The next test was a female Fetic Fox. Same thing. Once released into the containment chamber, 1294 began to watch the subject intently until it became affected by the toxin. Once unconscious, 1294 proceeded to mate with it. Subject woke up afterwards and attempted to leave the cell by clawing at the door. 1294 showed little interest in the subject after intercourse. Subject was left alone in the cell for 5 minutes and did not appear to be affected by the toxic environment. Analysis. Subject collected from 1294's containment area and has been given its own chamber to separate it. Subject, the fox from the last test, observed the behavior of the previous subject. Upon containment, the subject has become increasingly restless, attempting to lie down and rest but getting up to move afterwards. Subject began hyperventilating at an hour 44 and eventually tired itself out. The subject experiences an epileptic seizure and begins to foam at the mouth, ceases to move. Movement detected under the skin, abdomen distends by 10 centimeters. Fungal growths protrude from the subject's orifices and pierce through the skin. Growths are a light tan in color with small black spots sparsely placed throughout the pileus. Abdomen extends to 54 centimeters in diameter. The subject stands up and moves in an unnatural and sporadic fashion, collapse to the floor upon reaching the far corner. The fungal growths begin to take root in the surrounding walls and eventually grow up to the ceiling. A large pod begins to protrude from the subject's chest cavity, while the abdomen stops growing at 2 meters. The pod continues to emerge, causing the subject's chest to give way to a large hole. The pod produces a ball covered in a fur-like substance with a diameter of 42 centimeters. When separated from the pod, the specimen shifts about and shrinks to fit a quadrupedic figure. The ball's skin starts to become tighter as several orifices start to appear, revealing eyes, teeth, etc. By 6 hours 19, the specimen appears identical to a member of the Vulpes zerda species. The subject repeats the process a total of blank 100 times before ceasing at 9 hours 44. Of the blank 100 produced, 266 achieved sentience, while the remainder had either died or dried up, or formed a collective mass which covered the floor. Analysis. Examination of every specimen from the subject shows that each one is nearly identical to 1294 in appearance, effect, and internal structure. Only minor alterations such as eye color, fur patterns, and minimum size have been found between specimens. And the DNA testing has shown that all of them contain DNA belonging to both 1294 and the subject before conception. Most notably, they all appear to be male. Addendum 1. 25 specimens from the subject have been given the designations A through Y, with identical containment procedures to 1294. The remainder of the specimens have been incinerated after study, along with the remains of the subject from tests 975 and 976. The possibility of offspring are highly likely due to its high birth rate. Any reports of abnormally large foxes and or fungi in the area should be brought to Site Blank's designated head researcher for investigation. I was kinda right. I said I didn't think it was going to actually be a fox, and it sure doesn't seem like it. Meg's Diner. Meg's Diner is Keter. Sure. Outpost 618 has been founded in order to maintain the covert containment of 1295. Agents and researchers disguised as staff, patrons, and local law enforcement are to discourage civilians from interacting with 1295. Instances of 1295 are not to be made aware of their containment. 1295's daily routine is not to be interrupted under any circumstances. Description: SCP-1295 is the collective designation for a group of 4 elderly men who patronize Meg's Good Eatin', a diner over the blank highway blank between 9 and 8, I guess 9 a.m. and 1800 every day. 1295's anomalous properties manifest when an instance of 1295 is prevented access to the diner between its hours, or removed from it by force. The exact nature of the effect and its duration is contingent on the instance of not 1295. 1295-1. If prevented access or removed from the diner against his will, the anomalous properties will begin to manifest between 5 and 10 minutes after its removal. Those caught in an area beginning with approximately 100 meters from one exhibit extreme lethargy and complete lack of any self-preservation instincts, making even a simple accident potentially lethal. The area of effect grows by approximately 100 meters for every hour one is kept away from the diner. 2. If prevented access or removed, the properties will manifest between 2 to 3 hours after its removal. Those caught in the area beginning approximately 500 meters from 2 lose their ability to distinguish between edible and inedible matter, and will often endanger themselves or others in attempts to consume unsuitable nourishment, metal, toxic waste, living flesh, etc. The area of effect grows by 1 kilometer for every hour it's kept away from the diner. 3. The bodies will be... it begins to manifest immediately, and the bodies caught in the area of approximately 50 meters around it will lose all microbial life forms associated with them. The adverse effects include, but are not limited to, a rapid decrease in the functionality of the digestive system due to a lack of gut flora. The area of effect grows by approximately 200 meters for every hour 3 is not in the diner. And the 4th one's properties will be 30 to 40 minutes after removal, and an area of 150 meters will experience a sharp increase of self-preservation instincts to the point of paranoia or acute hypochondria. This condition soon becomes debilitating, as those affected by it will refuse to perform any action that might put them in any sort of danger, minor as it may be. It grows by 200 meters for every hour 4 is not at the diner. Those caught by both the effects of 1 and 4 enter a comatose state, presumably due to their opposing nature creating an unbearable mental strain on the subject. Any attempt to track instances of 1295 when outside the diner has thus far failed. Addendum A. The following conversation between all 4 instances of 1295 was recorded by Agent Blank disguised as a waitress at some point. You going to finish that? Yes, I'm going to finish that. I always finish what I order. You've been asking me, are you going to finish that? Every day for the last 60 years, and the answer was always the same. Why the fuck do you keep asking? Guess I'm just an incurable optimist. Ain't no such thing as an incurable anything, Frederick. Trust me on that. I don't know about that anymore, Pat. Seems like your big act is getting quite a bit less popular lately. Christ, not this again. Look who's talking! Yours wouldn't even exist if people got their acts together. Now, you look here. Shut up, both of you! 60 goddamn years listening to this shit every fucking day. You two are lucky I love the coffee here so much, or I would have left you to kill each other years ago. Yeah, because we just find your presence so delightful, Dwight. Don't you think for a second I forgot about you, Warren. You were the one to get us in this mess in the first place. It was an honest mistake. Where I come from, a big fiery mushroom usually means the end of days. How was I to know it was just a big bomb? It's your bloody area of expertise! It's not like it used to be. I don't really get those new trends, honestly. Everything today is remotes and drones and electro thingies. Give me a good elephant over this nonsense any day. I hear you. Oh, come on, guys. It's not so bad. We're always going to be around until the very end. Ain't nothing they can do to change that. Easy for you to say your thing is pretty much bulletproof. Relax. I know staying here for so long got you guys a bit stressed out, but it's only a matter of time until we can ride on. Besides, as much as I hate to admit it, I really like it here. The food is great, and the atmosphere. Not to mention the waitresses. I think that blonde one just winked at me, to Agent Blank. Can you give me a piece of that pie, love? Much obliged. So we just sit tight and wait. It's going to happen any day now, I know it. Yeah. So, Warren, are you going to finish that? So it sounds like these dudes are the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Just straight up. But at the same time, if these are the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, one, that conflicts with there already been SCPs of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and 2, why are they trapped here? Unless it's not the Horsemen of the Apocalypse and it's some of the deadly sins. But those are also their own SCPs. But it definitely sounds like they're related to the Horsemen of some kind. They also don't seem to be bothering anybody. It honestly sounds like they wish that they didn't do this to people and that they hate that they're trapped here. But yeah, so that brings us up to Dalai Lama. Is that supposed to be a joke on Dalai Lama or something else? What? What the fuck? Object class anomalous phenomenon? Containment class active. Hazard rating green. Standard containment policies. Can contact information on file with... What? Schedule C experimentation plan. Specimens acquired through use of 1296 to be stored in an RTA-3 biological storage unit and disposed of after recovery and study according to biological specimen clearance protocols outlined in document CDP Bio N1. Accounts of contact with 1296 outside of Foundation jurisdiction are to be investigated and addressed as they occur. Description. SCP-1296 is a Volga M24 model automobile belonging to a service identifying itself as Dalai Lama. The vehicle itself displays minor physical alteration. Baggage cars have been installed on the roof, the rear seats have been removed, and the vehicle is incorrectly labeled as manufactured by the Toyota Company. The Dalai Lama's company contact information and slogans are painted on the sides of the vehicle. Upon calling the provided telephone number, callers will be put in contact with a sales representative from Dalai Lama, henceforth referred to as A. Attempts to find the location of A or to acquire any additional information have failed. Any additional from it. Additional, probably information. SCP-1296 will manifest within 2 hours of placing the order at the caller's location, regardless of any changes in location made during the time between the call and the delivery. No maximum range to manifestations has been found, but it will require adequate space for the vehicle to manifest. Attempts to track 1296 have failed. GPS devices attached to the vehicle have ceased function after 1296 has left view, and it has consistently evaded pursuit. 1296 will always manifest with one driver of varying appearance and 2 to 8 llamas in addition to whatever specimen was ordered. The cost of the order will vary without apparent pattern. The following log was made during testing on September the 7th, 2012, or possibly July the 9th, 2012. Welcome to Dalai Lama, how may I help you? Yes, I was wondering if you could give me some additional information about your company? What would you need to know? You need a llama, Dalai Lama gets you a llama, anytime, any place, it's our name. Yes, I know that, but you call us, you order a llama, we get you a llama, not that hard. Where do you get these llamas? Look, man, do you want a llama or not? This isn't a 20 questions hotline. This is a 2 questions hotline. Question 1, do you want a llama? Question 2, what kind of llama do you want? If the answer to the first is no, then why are you calling? Let me speak to your manager. No, nope, sunk that ship. We don't put up with harassment around here. Good day to you, sir. Okay, I'll buy a llama. Just one llama, nothing special. Alrighty then, that'll be 45, cash or credit. Cash. The llama mobile will be there in 2 hours or less. Have a wonderful day, jackass. Interview log 2. The following log was made upon delivery on that day. The driver has been designated B. Hey, you guy ordered a llama? Yes, that's me. 45, please. Pays B. If it's at all possible, can I ask you a few questions about your... Not this again. You just won't give it up, will you? You order llamas. We get you llamas. From the top of Mount Everest to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, if you need a llama, we will get you that llama. Now stop being lousy. Yours is the gray one in the back. Test log. Ordered 3 llamas. 3 minutes, $33. 2 female, 1 male. No anomalies. Ordered 1 pregnant female llama with a brown spot on the left side. 17 minutes, $50. 1 llama matching the description. No anomalies. 1 alpaca. An hour and 43 minutes, $17. 1 male llama. Specimen had the hide of an alpaca glued to it. Closer inspection revealed that the hide had been freshly skinned. 1 llama misspelled. $200.02. Blank blank, a Buddhist monk. Subject had no recollection of events preceding delivery, was administered amnestics and released without instance. 1 robotic llama. An hour and 13 minutes, $3,561.87. 1 automaton in the shape of a llama. Behavior was identical to that of a biological llama. Ordered SCP-1545. Delivery time 15 seconds, cost none. Notes, SCP-1545 was observed to vanish from its containment locker upon ordering. It was delivered 15 seconds later, containing 2 deceased individuals, both unidentified. Autopsy revealed that they had been deceased for at least 24 hours. Delivery consisted of 1296 driving past the delivery area at approximately 150 kilometers per hour. SCP-1545 was thrown from the roof by a second B subject. B2 was heard to scream, "Just fucking take it!" before departure. I don't know what that SCP is yet, but that sounds great. A jar of toenails. That sounds significantly less great. What the fuck is this? What is this? RTC? What am I looking at? Okay, 1297 is level 2 classified. Apparently it's Keter. Only known photograph of 1 during attempted breach. Recorded speed in excess of 40 kilometers an hour. By order of the Temporal Anomalies Department, which is SCP-1780, SCP-1297 is contained in the center of a 10 by 10 by 5 meter reinforced concrete enclosure with 1 bulkhead door accessible via the east wall at floor level. If the rest of the SCPs don't look like this, then I don't know, man. I don't know. How would this one have ended up being 1297 if 1298's page does not also look like this? How? Okay, so the room is lit with natural gas torches and a standard safety protocol for gas leaks and lighting failures to be upheld at all times. A steel catwalk is suspended from the ceiling and west walls, 2 meters from the floor with bulkhead entrances on the north and south walls. At least 50 guards are to remain on site at all times in an event of an attempted breach, with no fewer than 5 security personnel stationed on the catwalk at all times. Once again, I'm waving my hands around as if I'm using a webcam and y'all can see it. I'm not, and you can't. But no electrical systems are to be employed in the surveillance or containment of 1297. Personnel who have been artificially augmented or repaired in any way, pacemakers, replaced organs, bones, joints, ocular implants, etc., are disqualified from working with 1297. Security personnel are to receive supplemental training on the use of antique firearms and ancient melee weaponry prior to arrival on containment site. No effort is to be made to prevent one manifestation event, see Addendum 1, but all instances are to be terminated on site using whatever means is available. Immediately following termination of all active 1 instances, remains are to be searched for their initiating object, precisely 1 toenail clipping, which is to be returned to SCP-1297 immediately. Personnel assigned to this task must wear gloves to prevent skin contact. Under no circumstances should 1297 be transported by air, nor should it be allowed within 40 kilometers of the nearest population center of 500 persons or more. Description. In its inactive state, item 1297 is a glass jar approximately 20 centimeters in height with a plastic screw-on lid. What does that say? Known configurations during periods of activity include a glass-top storage jar with a metal clasp, a red ceramic pot, a wicker basket, and a small circle of stones inscribed with an unknown runic language. Contents of the jar are apparently human toenail clippings in various states of decomposition. The precise volume of the item as well as the number, age, and composition of the clippings cannot be determined due to the item's anomalous properties. Anytime a toenail clipping is removed from the jar, 1297 will project a unique temporal displacement field. During experimental trials and breach attempts, it has been determined that the difference between the year recorded within the anomaly and the year recorded by observers outside the anomaly hereafter that increases both with duration of activity and number of clippings removed from 1297. The active radius of the anomaly also increases by the same criteria. At initial manifestation, 1297's active radius is 0.5 meters with a that equal to 10 years. This will increase by a radius of 0.5 meters and blank of 10 years per hour per clipping. Countering this effect requires the return of the original toenail clippings to 1297. Each clipping returned is capable of reversing both the increase in radius and the that for which it is responsible. Although a maximum of that equal to 100 years per clipping has been established, the radius of effect has no known limit and will continue to expand indefinitely so long as at least one toenail clipping remains outside of 1297. Unlike other localized temporal anomalies, the field will allow organisms, persons, radiation, and simple objects to pass in and out without harm. Ow. Anomaly 1297 represents a localized TK-class causal restructuring event, resulting in all temporally local causality, roughly the previous 20 to 50 years, being forced progressively further backwards along our current world line. Although sense of identity, personal history, and basic situational knowledge remain intact, progressively greater levels of technological regress can be observed within the active radius. The event includes but is not limited to weapons, armors, photography, fashion, language, political climate, and medicine. Despite minor disorientation caused by disappearance and regression of technology currently in use, all persons exposed to the effect indicate no knowledge anything has changed unless previously informed of the unique properties. The field is not directly harmful to healthy humans, however, subjects requiring the existence of advanced technology to survive will either expire or disappear entirely if local that precludes the existence of that technology. Items or personnel lost to this effect will be restored once the offending clipping has been returned to 1297. Collateral damage caused by their temporary disappearance is not. SCP-1297 employs a unique offensive strategy to increase the acceleration of the field's effective radius and time, I guess. Although clippings can be manually removed and replaced without triggering this effect, 1297 will at random intervals open and eject a random number of clippings covered in an unidentified viscous, sticky, malodorous brown humor designated 1. So, intervals range from 4 hours to 4 years. The most common interval is approximately 90 days. Okay. A number of instances ranges from 2 to blank thousand with a mean of 27 instances. Direct skin contact with the humor causes intense abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting in 100% of subjects. Olfaction was sufficient to induce effects in 13% of those exposed. Incapacitation due to vomiting, shortness of breath, and loss of consciousness lasts over 20 minutes in all cases. In addition, one is capable of spontaneous animation. Within 5 minutes of emergence, one will solidify around any ejected clipping in a radially symmetric pattern similar to an invertebrate of class Asteroidea. Resulting animate instances are no greater than 0.25 meters in diameter, but are capable of 2-meter vertical jumps, leaps at least at a length of 5 meters, and movement in any direction at speeds of up to 45 kilometers per hour, which is employed to put as much distance between 1297 and 1297-1 as possible. Instances appear to be aware of their surroundings and have been known to remove additional clippings from 1297 before attempting escape. Entities similar to one have been observed in relation to the SCP-3109 anomaly. Addendum 1 Containment Notes. Early containment efforts assumed Item 1297 to be non-sentient and were focused primarily on preventing the emergence and manifestation of one. Automated containment using sloped floors, pneumatic rams, liquid nitrogen spray, etc. have proven not only ineffective, but shown to increase both frequency and volume of manifestation events. Method of permanent containment attempted have also proven insufficient, up to and including casting the item in an 80 by 80 by 80 centimeter block of solid structural steel. Although 1297 remained inactive for 4 years prior to breach, the ensuing manifestation of blank thousand instances of one caused a local loss of all communications and firearm technology within a 20-kilometer radius, and loss of both written and spoken language within a 40-meter radius of the epicenter before all instances were terminated. It is theorized that another breach of this magnitude or greater may cause several simultaneous XK-class end-of-the-world scenarios due to containment breach of other known SCPs alone. As SCP-1297 has demonstrated the awareness necessary to recognize increased containment measures and the ability to escalate its response to them, further attempts to prevent the activation are prohibited. The classification was upgraded to Keter on October the 28th, 1986. Addendum 2, Document A. Item 1297 was mailed to Site-19 via U.S. Post on blank 1949. Its arrival coincided with a Something 4 level containment breach, including all 23 Euclid-class SCPs housed on site. The following note was recovered with the item sealed in red wax. The note was written with a simple charcoal-based ink on vellum paper, presumably to ensure that it would not be destroyed by 1297's effect. Dearest blank, I have decided, finally, to refuse your offer. Tempting all that control, but the way I see it, if not for your foundation, we wouldn't need your foundation. And you know this deep down, I'm sure you do. Everything is permitted, my friend, and there's nothing in this world which is not disposable. Not you, not me, not our fathers and mothers, not all the fortunes and all the pleasures and all of the horrors of all the world, except this little item here. Disgusting? Yes. Repugnant, of course. But you'll never be rid of it, not if your foundation places value in its status quo as we both know it does. I suppose that is what you wanted, isn't it? I honestly wish you would just give it up and come along for the ride. It saddens me to know that we can no longer be friends. Pity. We did make such a good team. Until we meet again, unless I see you first, stay on your toes. The box was damaged in shipping, displaying a small hole in the underside where an instance of one appears to have escaped and is presumed still at large. A postmark on the upper face listed a date of blank 2049, suggesting a maximum blank per one of 100 years. Subsequent tests on the packaging confirmed that it remains unaffected by anomaly 1297. Efforts to understand and reproduce this immunity are ongoing. It sounds like there's some background information tied to this one, and I wish there were links to it, but there's not. There's just this very strange looking page. And if 1298 does not also look like this, then I don't understand. What the fuck? God damn it. Okay, so, SCP-1298. It's safe. 37 instances of 1298 are contained in... Wait, let me go back and see what it's called. It's called the Doorstep Babies. The Doorstep Babies are contained in plastic drawers of the Level 2 cold storage unit of Site somewhere. Notes are stored in a locked filing cabinet in the Site blank offices. MTF Omega-8 Baby Snatchers has been charged with the recovery of new instances, administration of amnestics, and monitoring at-risk cases, as well as potential interception of the source. Following Incident A, long-term experimentation on active instances of 1298 is now strongly discouraged. SCP-1298-5 has been partially disassembled and placed in long-term cold storage pending decommission or reclassification to sapient. Description: SCP-1298 refers to a group of animate simulacra of human infants, constructed of steel and plastic with rubber skin and glass eyes. Instances exhibit mobility, vocalization, awareness, and reactions consistent with human infants of roughly 3 to 6 months of age, though they show no reaction to visual stimuli and are presumed to be blind. Disassembly has shown no electronic components, power sources, or complex machinery, though active instances maintain a temperature roughly analogous to human norms. Production of ambient temperature slows and eventually halts activity. Though instances will consume milk or soft foods, they do not produce waste, and anything ingested will remain inside the predominantly hollow interior. Instances of SCP-1298 are delivered by unknown means to the doorsteps of chosen subjects between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m., contained inside a woven basket and wearing a stitched one-piece wool garment and a white blanket. Accompanying each instance is an envelope containing a handwritten note. Each note is unique, containing a collection of common words interspersed with randomly selected letters. No consistent code or pattern has been found in recovered notes. Subjects of SCP-1298 appear to be selected on a fairly narrow set of criteria. Most subjects have been upper-middle-class Caucasian couples located in the Pacific Northwest of the United States who have recently lost a child, usually their first. A statistically significant number of subjects has been featured on local news regarding this loss, which is hypothesized to be the method by which subjects are selected. Though most instances are recovered following subjects contacting local authorities, several instances had to be forcefully removed from the possession of subjects. And you're just not going to say what SCP-1298-5 is? Or Incident A? What? Excuse you. Drowning tub. It's Euclid. It is to be contained in a 8 by 10 by 4 meter concrete wall. It is to be kept disconnected from all sources of water regardless of its current state. The door to its containment chamber is to remain locked at all times unless procedure F30 is being enacted. All level 2 and above staff members on site are to carry keys to 1299's containment cell. Once a month, 1D class is to enact procedure F30. In the case of a containment breach, essential personnel are advised to move as far away as possible from the containment area, and any available female disposable dudettes are to be escorted towards the breach site by security. Okay. SCP-1299 is a white porcelain over steel freestanding bathtub manufactured somewhere by Something Corporation. It was discovered when the occupants of a house on 75 Somewhere Street someplace in Ohio experienced an unusually high rate of apparent suicides and murders via drowning. A news story on the anomaly brought the house to the Foundation's attention. The Foundation quickly suppressed all information regarding the crimes and secured the house in question. No anomalies were observed until one agent turned on the handle of 1299, which activated despite being disconnected from the house's water supply, resulting in the agent's death. The Foundation quickly secured the bathtub and moved it to its current containment. When a living human being touches one of the two handles on 1299, the tub will begin filling with water. Once the tub is filled, an invisible force designated 1 will pull the subject into 1299 and force the subject underwater. An imprint of a pair of hands will appear around the subject's neck while they attempt to escape. Barring outside intervention, the subject will invariably drown, at which point the water will begin to drain via unknown means until the containment chamber is completely dry. The corpse may then be retrieved safely. If by the 26th night of each month no living body has touched the handles or is in the room, 1 will manifest and leave 1299, leaving a trail of wet humanoid footprints. It will seek out the nearest living human body, which it will drag back to 1299 and begin to drown as normal. If the process is interrupted and the subject pulled away from 1, the subject's personality will undergo a complete resequencing. For additional information, see Addendum 1. Is it actually here? Okay. SCP-1299-1 is intangible and impossible to damage by any means yet tested, and does not appear on thermal imaging or X-ray scanning. Have you tried freezing it? Because it seems to be made of water, I feel like you could freeze it. Or destroy the bathtub. I don't think it said it's indestructible. Just destroy the bathtub! Okay, testing log A. Subject, 1 disposable personnel with background in plumbing. They are instructed to attach to a newly constructed water pipe. Result, it began filling autonomously, and one immediately dragged 985 into drowning. Immediately after his death, footprints characteristic of 1 formed a trail towards and through the locked door to the containment chamber. 1 proceeded to grab one of the 2 guards stationed outside and pull him through the still locked door into 1299. Site personnel were alerted of a containment breach. 1 continued to seize and drown personnel until it successfully killed a female D-class, at which point it deactivated. The pipe was removed without further incident. Note, testing of 1299 is to be halted until further notice. Procedure F30 to continue as scheduled. Recommended female subjects to avoid a second containment breach. That's crossed out. Addendum 1. On blank 2008, Dr. Somebody, the researcher who was at the time overseeing 1299, attempted to alter the conditions of F30 without proper authorization. D1130 was introduced to the testing environment and instructed to enter the bathtub per regulation, but when 1 appeared, Dr. Blank breached containment and attempted to pull the subject out of 1299. After approximately 1 minute of struggle, the subject was removed from 1299 and the instance of 1 disappeared. D1130 seemed extremely distressed, asking where he was and insisting that he had just been in his house. Upon further examination and interview, D1130 referred to himself as Blank, A female who had been killed by drowning blank years ago in blank New York. Her boyfriend had been convicted of her murder, though the evidence was purely circumstantial. After gathering all available information, subject was terminated for full log see interview A. 1 day later, a second D class was used in procedure F30 to prevent a containment breach. Experiments are currently ongoing to determine the cause and results of the secondary effect. Okay, and testing log B. We probably don't really need the whole testing log. Interview A. Interview with D1130 after the doctor breached containment. Where am I? You're in a hospital. You appear to have fallen and suffered brain trauma. Now, if you can focus, we need to know what your name is and the last thing you remember. What? A hospital? I was just in my house. I decided to take a bath. What was the date and time? About blank in the afternoon? At blank blank blank. Thank you. What happened next? Well, I went upstairs to the bathroom and... I don't know. It all happened so quick. Because visibly distraught. The 11:30, what happened so quick? What was the last thing you remember? Please, I need to get out of here. He's going to come back. He's going to come! The 11:30 gets up and attempts to grab the doctor, but is shot twice by the agent. Closing statement. Subject's description was found to match the exact date and suspected time of the drowning of blank by her boyfriend. Interview with subject D894 after the subject displayed familiarity with and fear of 1299. Hello, D894. You seem to have previous knowledge of SCP-1299. You, expletive deleted, should blow that thing up! That goddamn bathtub ruined my life! But nobody believes me! Nobody ever believes me! Believes you about what? Me and my wife had just bought a house in blank, and the day after I moved in, the next damn day, I hear screaming coming from upstairs. So I rush into the bathroom and see her thrashing in the tub. By the time I get to her, she's dead. So it turns out the neighbor also heard the screams and called the cops. Well, guess who gets the murder charges? But you guys have the tub now, which means you stopped it, so you can tell the world the truth. You can get me off this whole sentence. Thank you for your cooperation, D894. Your case will be attended to shortly. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. Giving B-class amnestics and moved back to holding facilities. So they did not give him his life back. They erased his memory of having actually seen they had the bathtub and then sent him back to where he was to go back to just being dead, I guess? Or were they sending him back to, like, prison holding facility? So, now that we're at the end of the 1200s, I'm wondering if I should end the episode with 1300, or from now on actually start the 5s at the 0s. Because everything was all lopsided ever since I started doing weirdly numbered big episodes. So if I wanted to, I could just start from now on having it be the whole of the 100 blocks starting where it should. So I think I'm going to stop here, and we'll find out about the Liquid Surgeon next time, whenever next time happens to be. Because after all of these, I'm probably going to take a little bit of a sabbatical from SCP Wiki. But if you like this video, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Later!